Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. Sorry for the sort of delay in getting started, but I guess the keynote went a little long, so we wanted to give everyone time to get to their sessions. In case you're in the wrong place, this is Office add-ins. We're going to be talking about what they are and taking a look at some of them. My name is Jason Johnston. I'm a senior content developer with the Outlook team. My job kind of entails trying to help people and tell people how to write Outlook add-ins. Anyway, this is sort of the agenda that we're going to cover today. I'm not going to read off the list, just give you an idea of the order of things here. Office add-ins intro. What are Office add-ins? Office add-ins kind of fit into the three columns of the Office platform right here in the first part, the add-ins and web parts. And the whole point of an Office add-in is sort of to bring your solution into Office where users are working every day, okay? So I don't know about the rest of you guys, I spend a large amount of time in Outlook. You can bring your solution right into Outlook, right where I am spending most of my day. Real quickly, the other parts of the Office platform, which we're not really going to talk about too much today, web and device apps, your external applications, connecting back into Office services, whether it be email in the cloud, documents in SharePoint, that sort of thing. And then sort of the everything else bucket of Office development, voice, video, connectors, and bots. Okay, so what does it mean to make your solution a native part of the modern Office? Well, we'll try to give you sort of a visual here. As you can see on that far right, at the top there, a big row of buttons, right? That's actually a screenshot of the ribbon in, I believe, Outlook, of a whole bunch of add-ins. But you can see that they're all sort of right there in the Outlook ribbon. So instead of having, some sort of odd UI or anything like that, they're all natively right there in the Office UI. They're everywhere that Office runs. So a huge benefit of these Office add-ins is that once a user installs the add-in, it's available to them everywhere. So if they're running Outlook on their desktop, they're at home and they're logging in to Office 365 and using the online version of Word or Outlook, the add-in is still there, even on Mac, and in some cases mobile. And then the other nice benefit of the Office add-in platform is modern distribution and deployment. We have the Office Store. You can list your add-ins there, making it very easy for users to discover and install add-ins. There's also sort of a internal type of catalog so that IT admins at companies can build their own sort of private store that's tied to their Office 365 tenant. And we'll take a look at all of that when we go through some of the demos. Okay, so what exactly is an Office add-in? Well, an Office add-in is essentially a specialized web app. It's all based in HTML and JavaScript. Very easy to build up and deploy. The other part of the Office add-in is the manifest, and the manifest is the deployment piece, right? This is the part of your add-in that tells the Office app where the add-in is hosted, what buttons to add to the ribbon, that sort of thing. This is what gets uploaded into the Office store or into that Office 365 catalog. Okay, so where are add-ins supported? A couple slides back, we said everywhere. You can see here that's not technically true, but we're working towards it. So this gives you a rough idea. There's a more detailed graph on dev.office.com at that link. And notably missing here is mobile, like iPhone and Android. Those, I would say, Outlook coming soon, the others coming soon, everything pretty much coming soon. Okay, so let's talk about what's new for Office add-ins. Just a quick show of hands, who here has done any work with Office add-ins? Okay, a couple of you. Are those the new web-based add-ins, or are they COM add-ins? COM, yeah, okay. So you guys know that deal, right? Well, okay, so all of this is really talking about the new web platform. So what's new? In preview, so we're in preview for add-ins in Outlook for Mac. And specifically, we're talking about the add-in commands, which is a fancy way to refer to those buttons on the ribbon, and compose mode add-ins in Outlook are in preview. The Office 365 centralized deployment, that organizational catalog that we talked about, that's also in preview. Deep linking support, this is an interesting one. This is more of almost a marketing type thing for add-in developers. It provides you with a link that you could have on your website or whatever to get users to sign up for your add-in. And just by clicking on that link, it would go ahead and launch the target app, install your add-in, and show it running. So it gives you an ability to quickly show a user what your add-in can do. Word and Excel APIs, this is a new version of the Word and Excel APIs that are in preview. There are generally available versions of those APIs. Those add some new functionality. And the Display Dialog API in Office Online. And what that is, since I didn't see a whole lot of hands about being familiar with Office add-ins, is an API that allows you to pop up sort of a large dialog to the user. So if you need to provide a larger UI or do, say, authentication to third-party systems, Facebook, GitHub, whatever, that's there. Okay, so what's moved from preview to GA recently? Add-ins in OneNote online. So OneNote is sort of our new app to the whole add-in platform, and they're only supporting in online now, so it'll be coming to desktop and Mac and everything else soon. The Excel API 1.3 has moved to GA, and then these new in GA, these are things that didn't go to preview, but came just directly to GA. Office Online now supports Word API 1.1 and 1.2. The Office Fabric, this is a key part of Office add-ins. Fabric is basically a set of CSS and JavaScript that we provide that gives you guys the look and feel of Office. So this is a key component of add-ins, is making them look like they actually belong in Office. They're not, some odd UI. They look exactly like Office. And the Fabric is what makes that possible. In-client store improvements, we're always improving the in-client store, and I'll show you guys that a little bit later, which just makes it easier for users to discover add-ins, find the ones that they're looking for, see what they can do, and install them right in the client. Let's see, we have new samples and docs around auth. The Office team just released a JavaScript library that makes auth super simple to third-party things, and we'll look at that also a little later. And then UX guidelines and templates. So this is another thing that with the Fabric, the Office team provides a lot of templates and guidelines to help you guys build your UI in a consistent way that matches Office. Okay? So the next thing, we've got a demo. Yes? I'm sorry? Core. Fabric Core or? Yes, Fabric Core works on desktops. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's take a look at the add-in experience in OneNote Online. So here I've just got an empty OneNote page. And if I look on my home ribbon, you'll notice all the way over here on the right, I've got this button here, Free Images Picket. This is the Picket add-in. Picket is basically a service that you can pull free images to use in documents. And so they have this add-in. And if I click on the button, then it opens this task pane down the right side. Okay, this is one of the common UI patterns for an add-in is to load a task pane, and you'll see this in all the apps. Okay, this UI here, that everything that's loading here is coming from the Picket server. Okay, this is all HTML and JavaScript, and it's coming from their server. And essentially, this just lets me, I don't know, let's search for Summit since we're at the Tech Summit, and it brings up different images. Okay, I can choose one. And this is all, again, all through their JavaScript, their code. Oh, here we go. Okay, so the way that this is possible is that when their page loads, they're loading in an Office JavaScript library, which makes available to them the current document. Okay, so within this context, whatever document I'm editing, or if we're in Outlook, whatever email that I'm editing or reading, is made available to the web page to interact through that JavaScript. So they can do things like insert, select, pull data out, that sort of thing. Okay, so pretty simple. Now, how did I get this add-in? Well, on the insert menu, we have this Office add-ins, and this is what I talked about with the in-client store. So just by clicking this, we get this UI, which gives me the add-ins. And right now I'm looking at the store, so I can find whatever add-ins I want. I can go to my add-ins and see the add-ins that my user account has installed. Okay? And then if my organization has set up an organization repository, you would find it here. But as you can see, my admin has not set anything like that up. So quickly, let's kind of look at how we install an add-in. So everyone likes emojis, right? So we can take a look at that one. So when I click on a listing in the store, then I get this UI, and all of this information is provided by the app developer when they get listed in the store. And the first thing you can see is they can include screenshots to kind of give me an idea of what the add-in does. So the user can get that sort of feel. And then a description that they can tell me what it does. And then we see user reviews, so we can get an idea of, like, is this app worth my time, right?
But you can charge for apps too, right?
I'm sorry?
The author can charge for the add-in if they make sense or $2.
Absolutely, yes. You can charge for add-ins. You can do a free type of add-in and then do upsell of services within the add-in. And I think one of the add-ins I'll show you later actually does that.
So in-app purposes, right?
Exactly. Okay, so I've installed that add-in. And you'll notice that it now is on the Insert tab. Well, the other add-in was on the Home tab. So why is it different? Well, this is completely controlled by the add-in developer. They list in the manifest what buttons they want to add and where they want to add them. So they can add them to an existing Office tab. They can actually even create their own tab and put their buttons all on their own tab in the ribbon. Okay, so we're going to switch over to a Word demo now. But just to quickly show you guys, if I look in Word at my add-ins, the Picket add-in that I had in OneNote is also listed here. That's because those add-ins are tied to my account, and they'll show up across all the apps that the add-in supports. You'll notice that the emoji keyboard is not there, okay? The emoji keyboard doesn't support Word. So the store experience is smart enough to not show you add-ins that you can't use within the current app. Okay, so let's take a look at the Chorus document builder. And this one is a little more complex than the Picket, and we'll take a look at that. This one uses authentication, and so I want to show you guys how that authentication works using the display dialog API. So you can see that I've got this sort of welcome page in their add-in, and they're asking me to log in. I can also say watch a video and learn more, figure out what this add-in is going to do, or sign up. But I'm going to go ahead and do log in. And you see they've popped up open this dialog. And this is actually Microsoft Azure login, right? So that I can log in to Office 365. Okay, so now while that's signing me in, if I had not already configured this, then they would continue on and ask me to choose which SharePoint libraries I want to use with their service. So what Chorus does is their backend servers, their web servers, once I've signed in and granted access, given consent, they use the Microsoft Graph to go and pull my Office 365 SharePoint libraries. And then they'll say, hey, which document repositories do you want us to use, right? They provide a search capability across all these different SharePoint libraries within your organization and allow you to quickly find documents and insert them into the current document or insert parts of them, that sort of thing. Okay, so I had actually already set that up. They've got this little sort of getting started teaser here. I'm going to get rid of that. So, for example, let's just assume that I am going to write some internal document about our proposal to Northwind traders, right? So I know there's some documents out there in SharePoint. I'm not sure exactly where they are, but there's some information in there about the proposal that's already existing. So I want to grab that and pull it into the document. So just do this search here. And they come back with a list of documents. Now, I know it's one of these, but I'm not quite sure. So I can click on it. They give me sort of a little preview right in line there, but then they give me some options. And one of those is preview. And we're going to see another use of that display dialog API, this time with their own custom API that gives me an expanded preview of the doc. Hopefully. There we go. So they are, again, using the Microsoft Graph, loading in the document, and giving me a preview version of it so that I can look through here and say, oh, yeah, this is the one that I wanted. Okay? Now, the nice thing here is that I can actually, just from this preview, if I just wanted a little part of the document, I can cut and paste directly from this. This is fully interactable. Okay? I can also just insert the entire document. And they give me some other options here. You know, if this is interesting to you, definitely go try them out. It's a cool little add-in. We'll just go ahead and insert the entire document. And as you can see, they've pulled the entire document over, even including my review comments, and that sort of thing. No, it doesn't. Right, there's no dynamic link between the original and this new one. That'd be an interesting bit of functionality. Yeah. So again, they're using the Microsoft Graph here. They're using that display dialog to handle the auth back into the Microsoft Graph. If the whole graph thing interests you, I've got a session on Graph tomorrow. So definitely come by. All right, we're going to switch gears back here. Okay, already did that. Okay, so just to recap a little bit about that Chorus add-in. Chorus started life as a VSTO add-in or Visto add-in, which is sort of the .NET equivalent of the old COM add-ins that you guys, some of you guys are familiar with. They went there for a number of reasons. The multi-platform support was a big one, right? You write one-time HTML, JavaScript, and you work in Windows, Mac, online, everything. Modern deployment, no more having to send out installers. That's, you know, that sort of thing to individual desktops. It's just you put it in the store, and users can find it and install it. And then full power of web technologies. Okay, that's a thing. People are pretty familiar with writing HTML, JavaScript, maybe not so much .NET or the old COM, VB, C++, that sort of thing, right? And then integration with Office 365, being able to run in the online versions is a big win. They use those add-in commands to put the button on the ribbon, right? And they're using the Office UI fabric so that their UI has that nice, consistent look, using the same fonts, using the same control colors, things like that, match the rest of Office. They are using the Word 1.1 and 1.2 APIs. That's what allows them to do all those inserts and keep the comments, the reviewer comments, and all that stuff. Display dialog, I think I hammered that one a couple of times. And then using the Microsoft Graph to access SharePoint Online. Okay, so hopefully that has piqued your interest a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about how you could develop your own add-in. The first thing is, this is your starting point, dev.office.com. This is our Office developer portal. This is where we have all our documentation and samples, including our sort of sister site on GitHub, the Office Dev organization on GitHub. Tons of add-in samples there across all the different Office apps. Okay, so we've talked about some of this, but if you are coming from the VSTO space or even COM add-in space, why should you move to this? Well, platform support, we've talked about this a number of times, but that should be huge for you. Not limited to only Windows, right? Hitting Office everywhere the user uses it. Runtime, this is another benefit to this new add-in platform. Under VSTO, everything loaded in proc with the host app. So if I had an Outlook add-in, it loaded right in proc in the Outlook.exe process, right? And so if my add-in had some problem, Outlook had some problem. And this could frustrate users, right? With the new add-in model, everything's run in a web sandbox and it's out of process with the host app, okay? Life cycle, with the old add-in model, your add-in loaded as soon as the host app booted, even if the user wasn't actively using it, right? Now, everything is sort of on demand. It's all driven by the user. When the user wants to use your add-in, that's when it's loaded, that's when it's activated. And it is limited in scope to the current document or the current Outlook item, right? Programming language, well, under the old one, .NET, right? Now, just basic web technologies, HTML, JavaScript, Angular, React, if you like those kind of JavaScript libraries, they're all compatible. UI, again, WinForms. I don't know, does anyone like working with WinForms? Under the new model, it's all HTML and the Office Fabric, okay? Fabric just makes it a lot easier, trust me on that one. Deployment, again, the old model, all installers, click once installers. You had some? No. Okay. And under the new model, it's all through the store or the Office 365 centralized deployment. Okay, so do an actual dev demo. So what I'm going to try to do here and hope that it doesn't fall all apart is actually show you guys how to implement auth in an add-in. So I'm going to switch over. And real quickly, I'm just going to show you guys this add-in. This is an existing sample add-in up here in the right-hand corner, add-in demo, that we use just to kind of show the different UI patterns for what we call add-in commands, these ribbon buttons. We have essentially three different types of buttons. There's a UI-less button that just activates a JavaScript function and handles everything in the background. There's a drop-down type button, which allows me to sort of nest additional buttons. And then there's a task pane button, which we saw in the Word and OneNote. So, show you guys just a basic idea. And okay, so what went wrong there? Well, I'm hosting this add-in locally on my machine, and I don't have the web server running. So that's easily fixed. So I've got this code locally on the machine, and I'm just using a gulp task to run a little test server. So I'll get that started up. Okay. Okay, so now we can see that it's loading. All right, so what I've done to this existing sample is I've added a button on the compose message experience, personal contacts. And the idea here is, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes using my corporate email, I need to grab a contact out of my personal Outlook.com account. And I don't want to add my personal account to my work machine. I don't want all that email on my work machine. I just need that guy's email. So that's the goal here, is to be able to pull data out of my personal Outlook.com account and be able to use it quickly here. What we're seeing right now is essentially some dummy data to give you an idea of what the UI will look like. So how did I do this? Okay, is that all right? Everyone can kind of sort of read that? I think maybe this one does it. Ah, I got one. Thank you. Okay, so this is the contacts HTML. This is essentially the HTML page that we're seeing when that task pane loads. Okay, and I've got jQuery in there. I've got the Office.js, which is what drives all that interaction back with the Office app itself. And then here I've added in this Office Helpers JS file. This is what I was referring to when I said that the Office team has put out that auth library. This is in Office Helpers, and this is what we're going to use to actually implement the auth. And then everything down here is all Fabric, the Fabric CSS, and then there's a JavaScript file that will drive some of those more complicated controls that are in the Fabric. Okay. The actual HTML, very minimal here, because the JavaScript's actually going to build out that list of contacts. Okay. So let's look at the sort of the code behind, right? The contact JS file. So here is sort of the entry point to any add-in, this Office initialize. We execute this when the page loads, and this is sort of what hooks up your web page back to the Office app. And we can do any initialization in there. So right now I'm just calling this get contact list, and you can see I've kind of got this faked up JSON to give a fake graph response. So this is what we would get back from the graph. It would look something very similar to this. And then the rest of the code just parses that out and builds the UI. So we want to remove all this and actually pull live data. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do here is add this code in the initialize. Okay, so this is the authenticator that comes out of that Office Helpers library. I just create it, and then I can check and see if we already have a token, if the user's already logged in, okay, just by pulling out of its token cache, this tokens. All right, and then this tells me that I'm looking for a token back to a Microsoft account, which Outlook.com Microsoft account, right? If I've got a token, then let's go ahead and get the contact list, else let's execute this function to go ahead and do the auth, okay? So take out this placeholder. Okay, so that's done. Now we need that get graph token function. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, so here we're giving the authenticator details about our app. Now, the way that Graph authentication works through OAuth is that you register an app ahead of time to get a client ID. So if you're familiar at all with OAuth, you probably are familiar with that sort of concept. So this GUID here is actually my client ID for the app that I've registered. Okay? And then I give it a little more information. Redirect URL, this is where the authentication is going to redirect after the user has signed in successfully. So it's coming back to a page in my add-in. And then scope, this is the permission, the level of access that I want, which is just be able to read contacts. Okay? And then I'm just going to say authenticate. Go ahead and authenticate to a Microsoft account, and when that's done, it's going to call this callback with the actual token that comes back. So I'm going to pass that to get contacts list, and we'll be all set. Then there's a little catch with a default debug log. Okay. And just real quickly to show you guys this auth complete, where we redirect, it's empty. Doesn't do a whole lot, right? The user's never actually going to see this because I've got this little bit of code behind that when it loads, it checks if it's loading in an auth dialog, which it will be from the Office helper, and it's just going to immediately return. And that will signal it to go ahead and close the display dialog automatically for us. Okay, so what's left? Well, currently our get contact list function is just using this fake thing. It's not even using the token. So let's fix that. Okay, so any JavaScript developers out there? Anyone? Yeah. So this should look pretty familiar, just using AJAX to call a REST endpoint. And again, this is going into the graph, right, to access my account. And it's just going to my contacts, and I'm asking for a specific set of fields, display name, given name, surname, and email addresses. And then I'm telling it, just go ahead and sort that for me, right? And then here's the key, right? For our auth, I'm passing that access token as the authorization header. Okay. When that's done, assuming it comes back without an error, then I'm going to pass that JSON payload, that JSON response, back to the build contact list. Okay? So if everything went right, I'm going to cross my fingers. This should now be working. Okay? And because I'm running this locally using that gulp task, it will take my changes immediately. So all I need to do is reload the add-in. Okay, so it's detected that, hey, you're not signed in. I don't have a token. And there we go. It's pulling that data out of my, my own personal Outlook.com account. Okay? So just to recap, what did we change? Right? So these few little lines to check for a token and make a decision based on if we have one. And then these few lines just to handle the authentication, right? Using that Office helper, I didn't have to call the display dialog API myself. It was all handled for me. So it makes it super easy. And even though I demonstrated logging into a Microsoft account, you can actually use that Office Helper to log into any sort of third-party OAuth 2 compliant auth system. Facebook, GitHub, you name it. Okay. Okay, so again, using the display dialog, that Office Helper made that all happen for us. We didn't have to worry about it. But the nice thing about it is it pops up that dialog for us. We don't have to worry about crafting that dialog. And it loads that third-party auth UI for us. We don't have to reinvent that. Display dialog will handle browser differences. If I had Chrome as my default, if I were on Mac and using Safari, whatever I have, it's all going to happen in a consistent way. I don't have to worry about little differences within the browsers. Any type of web-based auth, including OAuth, the Office Helper only does OAuth, but if you were to use display dialog yourself, you could navigate to a form-based auth, do federated auth, whatever you've got going on. Okay? Office.js helpers, again, any OAuth 2 compliant service. It's the best practice just because it handles it all for you. You don't have to write a whole bunch of code, right? And it supports implicit and authorization code flows. We did implicit. I won't go too much into the details there, but if you're familiar with OAuth 2 and those different flows, those two are supported. And we have samples. GitHub.com, Office Dev. If you'd like to try this out yourself, we've got samples over there. Okay, so building great add-ins. So a lot of our documentation is aimed to try to help you not just to build an add-in, but to build a great add-in. And these are kind of the key things to look for, right? Create a delightful UX. All right, I didn't come up with that phrasing. It's a little funny to me, but the point here really is you want users to like looking at your add-in and want to use it, right? So this is why we have the UX patterns to keep things consistent, help you build an attractive looking add-in that functions well and flows well. Okay? Use those pop-up dialogues. And here it says for auth, and that's really a key use of display dialog. But think outside the box. You can use it for other things. Let's think back to that Chorus document builder when they popped it up to give me that larger kind of UI surface and give me a preview of the document that really wouldn't scan well in that vertical task pane, right? Use add-in commands. These are the buttons on the ribbon again. We just give it a weird name. Definitely use that. The whole point there is your add-in is on the ribbon. It's front and center. It's not buried in a menu. It's not on some obscure piece of the UI. It's front and center. You've got your icon for your add-in. Users can see it. And create individual commands. A lot of the add-ins that we looked at had a single button, right, that launched a task pane. But think outside of that. If you have a function that's some sort of quick function, right, you can use that UI-less button to do something quickly and just pop up a little status message to the user. Think about what makes sense for your add-in to live right there on the ribbon. And if you need to create tons of buttons, create custom groups or even a custom tab, right? So you have control where your buttons live on the ribbon. And then this one, be lightning fast. This is really important to add-ins. As everyone knows, users can be impatient. You don't want to spend a lot of time loading. Definitely want your UI to be snappy and have that perception of being fast. Okay? And there's a lot more detail here in our best practices and UX design patterns on dev.office.com. Okay, so once you as a developer, you're done building that end-to-end, you're ready to share it with the world, what happens? Well, it's fairly simple. The web app part of it is deployed to your web server, wherever that is. It can be an Azure web server. It can be, an internal web server. It can be IIS. It can be Apache, whatever it is. It really, really doesn't matter. And then your manifest, that XML file that describes the buttons, describes the URLs to load for your add-in. That goes to the Office Store or to the Office 365 admins to upload into their centralized deployment repository, okay? And then the other side of that is the user. How they get it. Well, they go to that store, they go to that Office 365 repository, they find that manifest, and they install it. And then the Office app loads from your web server. It's fairly simple. Okay, what's coming? This kind of what to look forward to if you're doing add-ins. Well, that Office 365 centralized deployment that is currently in preview will be going to GA fairly soon, so that will be widely available. Add-in commands on Mac for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So we do currently have this now for Outlook, for the people that are on the Microsoft Insider program, so it's in preview. And that's coming shortly for the rest of the Office apps on Mac. So all those fancy buttons that you add to the ribbon are going to start showing up in the Mac clients. More APIs across all the apps. This is something that we're constantly working on, adding additional functionality, additional APIs, but in a way that doesn't break existing add-ins. Okay? OneNote add-ins across platforms. If you guys remember, we are currently only supporting that in OneNote Online, but they're looking to turn that on for the Windows and Mac versions soon. Add-in single sign-on. So they're looking at ways to reduce the number of times that you actually will have to sign in, especially back into Office 365. So if you're already editing a document in Office 365 and your add-in is, let's say, accessing email for the user, again in Office 365, the goal here is to not have to ask the user to sign in again. And then continued UX and perf improvements inside the Office apps themselves, just to make the add-in experience that much better. Okay, and resources and support. Okay, so again, if you guys are interested in this, dev.office.com should be your starting point, okay? Join the Office 365 Developer Program. You can go to that website and join. You're going to get notified of updates, access to our roadmaps, and you also get like a 30-day free trial of Office 365. So if you need an Office 365 tenant to test things with, you can get it that way. Follow us on Twitter. If you do Twitter, follow us. You're going to get those same sort of notifications about things that are coming and announcements. Provide feedback. If you're developing, you find that the platform doesn't do something that you would like to see, or it doesn't work how you want, features that you'd like, go to our user voice here. Leave that feedback. The program managers do look at that. That does help shape the future of things to come. And then problems, questions, interact with us on Stack Overflow. Believe it or not, we are very active. We're constantly monitoring Stack Overflow with these tags, looking for people asking questions or having problems with the platform. And there's a lot listed here. This is sort of a general Office roundup of tags. But if you're doing add-ins, it's Office.js is relevant. That's the JavaScript APIs that drive your add-ins. Outlook web add-ins, if you're doing Outlook, this is specifically for Outlook. And we've got Excel add-ins as well. So those would be the ones to go with. And with that, guys, this is pretty much the end of my prepared stuff. Does anyone have any questions? We've still got about 25 minutes.
I'm designing an Outlook add-in
Mm-hmm.
that will allow a user to receive an email, and the add-in will parse the body of the text of the email and extract data from the text of the body email,
Okay.
and then do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
Create an appointment, or create a contact, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that the challenge I'm having is I want to create a UI so that they can define these texts defined, right? So if usually it's used with a web form, so basically it's a web form on the web, they get an email.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? So it could be a new link or website, so forth. So the challenge I'm having is how do I create this UI so they can configure the add-in to look for a particular text in the body of the email,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can capture that data and do the action. That part I'm okay with. It's the first part, configure the UI.
Okay.
So one of the issues I'm having is, I'm thinking to myself, am I overdoing it? If it's turning into something that's beyond the concept of the add-in, should I just take it out of the add-in universe and make it an app instead?
I see. Okay. So the question that he had was about, I don't know if everyone could hear, but was about designing a UI to configure sort of the add-in, right? So that was proven to be a bit of a challenge. And then I think the second part of the question was, is it too much for an add-in? Is it
So I
some?
think most people have the expectation an add-in is 99 cents or
Mm-hmm.
That's another issue I'm grappling with, right?
Right.
So
Okay.
you pay the dollar. Well,
Sure.
I want to charge $10.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I should take this and make it a part of something else.
I see. Okay. So is it too much for an add-in? Would it be better as an app? And specifically looking at the monetization of it, right? Would people pay for an add-in, or does it need to be an app just for that sort of user expectation? Okay. So to talk about the designing a configuration UI, I think that's definitely something that's doable in the add-in platform. You could use that display dialog if you need like a sort of a larger UI surface for configuration. Or you could keep it inside of that task pane, depending on how complex your configuration UI is, right? And if it would work in sort of that vertical view. The question of, is it too much for an add-in? The functionality that you described should all work in an add-in. The question of, is it too much, especially in regards to monetization, it's a hard question for me to answer for you. But I would say that, if there's concern about charging for the add-in, look at a model of the add-in being free, but the back-end service being something that you charge for, right? So maybe there's a sort of a starter or free version that gives them a limited functionality, and then you do that upsell, right? Once they've tried the add-in, they see what it can do, you do that upsell. So that's something to think about. Okay. Yes, sir.
30 days is not a lot, so is there considered maybe a sandbox or some kind of a developer situation where we can do all the testing and development without actually needing the subscription?
Okay, so the question was about Office 365 and a 30-day trial not being a whole lot, not giving you a lot of time. Yeah, and I totally understand that. So there's a few ways, there's a few other alternatives. If you have an MSDN subscription, for example, you can get a free year subscription to Office 365. It's just a single user, okay? But it's enough for you to kind of be able to test that interaction. The Office Developer Program used to be the same way, that you got a free year of Office 365 with a single user. The feedback that they received with that was that we need multiple users to test, multiple user interactions, delegate scenarios, things like that. So the compromise that they came up with is we'll give you more users, but we're going to limit it to 30 days, right? It's a balancing act.
Is there a way they can link it to maybe Team Server or Visual Studio so that if you're accessing through that, each developer would have their own account?
I'm sure those things are possible. They're just not there today. So, yeah. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I think, Action Pad, get free, 5 users.
They still make Action Pad?
Action Pad. This smart program,
Okay. Okay.
but, my question early on in your chart, you need to know what omission was Microsoft Access.
Yes.
Is that point to change, deviate it along with JavaScript?
Okay, so the question is about Microsoft Access, a notable omission from the list of apps that support add-ins. As far as I know, there are no plans to bring the add-in platform to Access. Yeah, sorry, I don't know of any plans to do that. I think with Access being a little more sort of developer-focused compared to, it's more of a developer type app in the Office suite. I guess it's not something that they're considering.
So,
Gotcha.
everything, around the office.
Yep. I would say go to the user voice and leave that feedback. If you'd like to see this kind of platform brought to Access, leave that feedback there. VSTO is not completely dead. It's still there. It's still supported. But I would say that the recommendation for new development is to move to this model over VSTO. Yes, sir.
Deployment of the app itself, so if you don't have your own tenant, anyone can see it. So the only way of limiting the small business that again want to create something easy for them, you just have to do it on the authentication side, say, oh, use username, and come into the app. Anyone can install it, add it, but they're gonna have to log in. Is that the only?
Okay, so the question was about deployment. If you're not using an Office 365 tenant, then are you stuck with basically publishing in the store and then anyone can install your add-in? The answer to that is no, and I probably should have talked about this a little bit, but there are other options. So an administrator inside of a on-premise situation, for example, can install add-ins for their organization and push those out. So that would be done by providing your manifest directly to your customer. So if you're selling to, say, an enterprise, you provide the manifest to them, and they upload it and install it for their users. You can also what we call sideload add-ins, and I'll show you guys that real quickly. This is how I've got this test add-in running now, is I've actually sideloaded it. It's not listed in the store. And the way that works is I just go to the store, and I've got this click here to add a custom add-in. Okay? And I can add from a URL, or I can add from a file. Either way, this is pointing at that manifest XML file. Okay? So if you're developing, you're testing, or you can provide it to users this way. You can host that manifest on your website, and just say, hey, add it this way, put this URL in, and you're good to go. Okay?
Does that only work with Office 365 or is it Office 2016?
Office 2016 and Office 2013. Can do this. So, and you could do it online as well. So I could go into Outlook on the web and install it from there. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Clarification on the access issue.
Mhm.
We're talking about what application hosts the add-in?
Yes.
Or you could be in Excel and have an add-in that taps into intelligence in your access or online Azure system. Or
Right. And
it's bringing to bear that information, but it's within access you cannot have an add-in.
correct. Yes, that's true. So the question was, to clarify the question about access, add-ins can't be hosted in Access, but if you have Access data that is accessible through a REST API or some other networked API, then you could absolutely access that data from an add-in that was in Excel or Word or whatever. Yes. Okay, any other questions? Anyone? All right, well, there's still about 15 minutes or left on this session. I'll stick around if you guys have any questions that you want to ask. I'll also be at the Ask the Experts thingy tonight at 6 o'clock. Thanks for coming, guys.